Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and welcome to our totally innocent boat, Nothing to See Here, Part 2. Well, there's nothing to see here with this boat just because, well, it's a very innocent liquefied natural gas carrier, of course, with its 2 tanks of gas. It definitely doesn't conceal a much more evil plan of Dr. Inferno's to rain down horrible missiles on the world and hold the world to ransom. Yeah, don't think that it's anything untoward whatsoever. Today we're going to finish this vessel, do its part 2, which will mainly be the wheelhouse on the back. But first of all, as usual, we should start with some amendments suggested by you. And firstly, a few that I'm not going to do. Some people suggested that the rockets looked a bit big. Because essentially, if they were that wide, they'd have to be incredibly deep. And I did mention that in the last video. That kind of makes it more funny to me, in a way, that it's totally unrealistic and they look ridiculously large. Maybe the underneath of the boat goes incredibly deep to accommodate them. Or maybe, well, it's just silly. But I kind of like that look. Over the top is much more amusing to me. Another thing that was suggested was to have one of these opening in each direction. So it balanced better when the ship was in this sort of position. Poor Robin, hanging on for dear life. But although that might be more realistic, and I certainly agree it would be, I think it's much more fun to have this view with both of them exposed on one side. So I'm going to sort of ignore reality just for a little bit and have them both opening the same way. So I won't be changing those. Now, as to what I will be doing, I'm going to be raising up this mast because it was pointed out that once I'd turned this thing around and we had the dials here, they're far too low for anyone to see, or far too high for anyone to see who's standing here. So I've just made this little construction here out of interesting bricks and plates to put on the bottom and raise the whole thing up a little bit. I've moved these a little bit to accommodate as well, but I don't think that detracts from them too badly, so that's a good one. I'm also going to add a clear light to the top. I had a yellow one on the top, just to be correct. I think I was told that last time I did a ship, and I've totally forgotten it already, the rules of the sea. So essentially, I've replaced that one as well. So that's another small amendment, but very good one. And the third one is kind of not to do with the boat at all, but it was quite a fun idea, actually. And it was just to have a periscope of a submarine nearby, kind of watching this vessel. So maybe Dr. Inferno hasn't got away with his nefarious scheme. Maybe nearby there are some agents watching from underneath the waves, making sure that this doesn't get into position for firing. So I thought that would be just a tiny addition to the scene when we put it in place in Brick Nottingham that will make it even better. So yeah, I really like that. So I'm going to do that as well. And then it just gets onto my amendment, which I kind of started last time, which was adding this wonderful sound brick, which is from the set 8634 Turbo Car Chase from 2008. And it was my idea to kind of incorporate it into the wheelhouse, and that's what I'm going to do. So the sort of lower floor of the wheelhouse, I kind of think of as being the engine room. So maybe this whole block is something that an engineer could be working on either side. And it kind of looks a bit mechanical in a way. So when this is all boxed in, and the wheelhouse will be very small really, so it won't be completely realistic, but I still think that'll work just as a thing to peer at through the windows. So I'm just going to add to that a little bit of the base of the funnel, made with some Technic bricks, so I can put this red axle, which is the accent colour already for the rest of the ship, into here. Ooh. So whenever I want to, I can just prod that tiny bit that's sticking out and set the whole thing off. Yeah, it's quite addictive. So that is all the amendments from part 1. Now we can get on to starting that bottom level of the wheelhouse and then the top level, which will link up with the walkway over the 2 tanks, of course. So there we go. Oh, I nearly forgot. For everyone who suggested one of those amendments, here is your bedoing. Right, well, I've just started bricking around that engine room, and I think I'm going to put on some barriers just to prevent people from falling off as they go in and out of the doors of this thing. And have some low, long ones on the sides and some higher ones on the back, just for variety. And then why not have one right on the front in there as well? Yeah, I think that's probably about right. Then we can get on with adding the beginnings of a ladder up the back to get into the higher level, because that's where I think the main access will be. And I've put a modified brick on the back there just so we can have a life ring, because although this ship is run by baddies, evil people, they still have a little care for health and safety. They still don't want to fall off and drown, so there we go. So that looks nice, and a good bit more of yellow accent colour, the sort of second one there. And then for the rest of it, I'm just going to add windows with these slide pieces on the top to give a bit of 3D texture. So I can do that on the two sides and on the front with one of the 8 long ones. That goes there. Yeah, don't mind that in front of the windows. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one, but I can come back to it. So that's just boxing in all of that. And then I need to continue up the sort of bottom of the funnel a little bit with some more textured bricks with a jumper plate on top of that. Now this lower floor, I'm going to box in. I mean, it's way too small to start adding stairs to and things like that. I mean, just stairs would fill the whole thing. So I'm just going to kind of have it as the impression of an engine room and put a solid roof on. But that would be a hatch going down into that from the main cabin in reality. So that's firmly in place, and we can still see the engine in there if we want to have a peer in, but it's not the most obvious thing. But the main thing is we do still have that switch, and it'll probably be a bit muted now. Yeah, that is more quiet, certainly, but you still get the idea, so that's all right. As for the controls on the inside of this cabin, I want to have one of these for the throttle, with a lever on where you kind of push it forward to go forward and back to go back, and a steering wheel that I forgot last time I did a ship, so I put one in this time on the other side because I need a gap in the middle for a doorway to get out onto this walkway, of course. So that is my lower level here, and it's a bit of a shame really, because I was thinking about this, which sort of computer screen or radar to add, and I've got this sort of normal one here, and I had these really nice looking pair here that came with the 7034 surveillance truck vehicle from 2003. Yeah, they're an old grey, but they are really good. I really like both of those, especially that one with the radar on, but we just don't have room in this ship, so I guess I'll have to do another boat in the future and use them there. And then last thing on this section is just another red light for the back corner and another green one for that back corner, just to give more indication as to which way this ship is going. And I'll probably breach some more maritime shipping rules by including them there, but yeah, I kind of like them anyway for now until you tell me they're wrong. Right, so there's our lower level. So now I think before we do the top level, should we start adding some crew? I think that might be quite good fun. Let's do that. Well, looking through all my agents' baddies, I've got one bag full of magma drones and one magma commander there to lead them all. And I think that's far too many people for this boat, so I'm going to have another Dr. Inferno build in the future that incorporates all of those. Clearly I've collected far too many. But with the rest of my bag, I've got a few more leftover pieces still, but I've hooked out 3 people. The first one is this guy, who's called Sawfist, and I've used him already in the warehouse, but there must be more than one person who's had his arm removed to be replaced by a chainsaw, presumably. So that's one character we can have just sort of on the side, looking like he's a very innocent gas transporter employee. Yeah, nothing untoward here. The second one is the second copy of Breakjaw, who is the guy who wears this rather fantastic helmet usually, but he's got the teeth to match underneath, and he looks very angry indeed. And I thought he could be Captain Breakjaw, so he could go in the wheelhouse. And then I could give him some binoculars, why not, so he can make sure he doesn't crash this payload into something by accident. There we go. And then the third one that I've been really looking forward to using, and I'm going to put this one in the most prominent position right on the front of this gangway, is the son of Dr. Inferno himself. Much like the Austin Powers movies, where we're kind of looking at silly bad weapons and things like that, and secret agents and stuff. I'm going to also have another thing from those films, which is the mini-me character of Dr. Inferno's son, and that is the adorably cute character here, with lovely little freckles, the original Dr. Inferno hair and torso, but with little legs as well. And doesn't he just look so sweet indeed? I absolutely adore that. And I've got a little telescope piece in orange, so he's even got an on-brand telescope to admire the view from the front of the vessel. So yeah, I absolutely adore that. We will have to come up with a name with him. Mini Me, I mean, that is a bit too of a direct copy of Austin Powers, so maybe it's Mini Inferno, or, well, what's a small inferno? It's just a fire, really, isn't it? I mean, we could call him something like Sparky or something like that. So maybe give your name suggestions for this guy in the comments, but I think he looks fantastic. So if we put him on the top of this, ooh, I don't know, hold on, is this telescope going to be in the way? Maybe I'll put it right back, and I think I'll be able to clip on his hand as well if I get this right. Oh, right, I'll have to fine tune that in a minute, but you get the idea. I think that is a really cool view for the front. And you'll use that claw to hang on, of course, when these things open. So that makes it even better. Now, if that wasn't enough for the crew, I thought that these two look too obvious and really do need disguises if they're going to blend in. So I managed to get recently in a brick haul 2 of these season 10 Sea Captain hats. And I thought, wouldn't these two just look fantastic if they had their incredibly cunning disguises on, so no one could possibly recognise them as employees of Dr. Inferno. And if you ask me, you know, they just totally blend in now. I mean, you really couldn't tell, could you? I mean, he just looks completely normal person. Yeah? Yeah, so I think that looks really good. So that is another funny little scene, I think. Unfortunately, we're going to just box this guy in, but yeah, them wearing captain's hats is another thing that is just fantastic. Brilliant. So there are the crew. Let's get on with finishing off this wheelhouse. Now, as a change to other ships that I've made, I'm building a frame that is the entire next level that you can put on and lift off around the inside contents. As you might have guessed by the fact that I've added this tile layer around the floor of the section that we already did. And that's just so we can see inside and see the man very easily and just ping it off and put it back on because of that wonderful expression and the captain's hat. I just love that. So I didn't want to have that too buried in by firm side walls. I also wanted to incorporate these windows that we have used before, but I wanted to use them on the side this time. So we've got kind of a 360 view out of the side windows and the diagonals and so on. So I can put one of those on each side as well. Then onto the front, I wanted to add some modified bricks because we need to add some Dr. Inferno logos, because even with his secret hidden warehouse, he manages to include his logos. So yeah, why not do the same thing here? So I've just moved some Dr. Inferno stickers from, I think they were on black towers originally, onto these orange ones, just so it looked a bit more uniform, using my patented hot tea technique. And then they can be placed on each side here, just to make it even more obvious that this very, very innocent vessel he's definitely got nothing untoward about it. So there we go, so that's there. Then we need that central door, don't we, to get onto the walkway in the middle. So for that, I just kind of used the same technique that I did for my Zeppelin train, and I'm just using texture. This door isn't going to open, but with a different colour and a different texture, I think you can see that that looks like it could be a door that opens inwards into the cabin. And I can just fill in those gaps with more of the regular windows. So that is kind of a fake door, a real door in universe, of course. And then on the back, well, we're going to have the stairway continuing on this removable section from the bit that we already did. I need to have another door. So there is the same sort of section that we had on the front, on the back as well. So that's how you get in. You go up the ladder, you go in there, and then you go out of there to that. And there must be a hatch to the lower floors in there as well. And then this is just a setup to be built into the back wall to be the continuation of that funnel. And then this, although fragile at the moment, will fit onto there onto the jumper plate there and continue that beautiful funnel up. And I just love putting these stripes on these boats, white and red in this case. Just looks absolutely great. Unbroken stairs there. Logos on the front, partially concealed by that guy standing there. And there is the doorway in or onto the platform. And you'll see the little slide plate there marries up with the one that I put on the end of this walkway just there to make the gap very small indeed. So I think that looks pretty good. A very small mind the gap there. So yeah, and we can even see our hilariously angry captain through the windows. That's even better a touch. So I really like that. Cool. So onto the roof. I suppose I can leave that there. No, I think I'll take it off to continue building. So the roof section is going to be black plate. I'm going to use these really interesting roof ends on each side. And then I need to fill some of the gaps. I'm using these slopes as well. And then that can join everything here together, hopefully. Hopefully I won't destroy it and ping it across the room. That's what I always hope when I'm doing these recordings. Doesn't always go to plan. There we go. Ooh, is that pressed firmly? Yep, I think it is. So that's got a really nice shaped roof, if you ask me. I kind of like the double-sidedness of it. Looks really good going out with these inverted slopes and so on. Ooh, what fell off there? One of my tiles. There we go. Put that back on. Then on the front, I think we need a light to light up the gangway that people will be walking on there. So this is 2 headlight bricks in there, and I can kind of give that a bit of strength with one of these kind of ship mast pieces with a boomerang on the top and an aerial to make it look even more interesting. But we still need more, so I'll put a little dishy type radar there and one of those ball radar things on there. So that looks like it's got quite a lot of kit, and then that can fit over there and fit on quite well. Yeah, that's looking pretty good if you ask me. But we need to still finish off this funnel. So we need one of these large slopes on the back to bring it in a bit. And then I've got all sorts of different bricks here, including this interesting wedge plate to give it a bit of kind of streamlined shape. And that will go in there. And that is even more texture and interesting shape, I think. I really like that wedge plate, actually. It's kind of hard to see black on black, or at least on the screen that I'm looking at right now. But I think you can see that there, kind of flared out towards the back. So now it's all strong and can be lifted off easily in one piece. You know, it finds its position very easily. So I think that works a lot better than us having some very sort of small hingeable roof that we then have to kind of peer from vertically above into. I can just say, have you seen the hilarious captain in there? Check that out. Yeah, I like it. I really like the windows. I like the doors. I think they work rather well because with this sort of scale of building, we really can't have a 3D opening door because it just won't fit. And at least there's a way that we can perceive that crew can get in as well. So yeah, tell me what you think of that, but I'm liking it. Ship ahoy! Yeah, I really like Sparky, as is his temporary name. Looking fantastically innocent on the front of this very devastating vessel. So just a few final details. I was considering having an anchor hanging off here, but I think it's just going to flap around, and definitely not one in blue because that'll be just another colour that really doesn't match anything else that we've done so far. So I might just leave that off. One idea was to have string coming off both of these reels and then maybe have it attached to a buoy that was in the water, kind of like that on each side, like it was anchored in harbour. But you know, I'm not sure I like that either, so I might just not bother with the string on this and leave that to our imagination. But yeah, so you tell me what you think of that idea as well. And then the last thing is more stickers. Yes. So I was looking for another bag, which I've got here, which has actually got 3 different types of sticker on from all sorts of different builds. Oh, I'm just throwing them around now. We've got this one and this one that look very similar, but they've got a different colour on the top there. And this one, which, well, is a slightly different colour variation on the same thing as well, I suppose. Slightly different in shape as well. Anyway, yeah, I've got I think it's 6 of the orange one, 2 of that one, and 3 of that one. So I haven't got 8 of anything, so I can't do 4 per dome or anything. But I'm trying to work out where on earth I could put them. I mean, is it a bit too much to put these on the outsides of these, gas containers? Because then, in a way, the illusion's gone. Or should I put them on the side of the rocket? There's no real other flat surface in there to put them on. I could put some of the smaller ones, especially these black ones, maybe actually on the hull itself. Have them, I don't know, halfway along each side. Actually, that looks quite good. Pretty subtle. Maybe I could even have them on the stern, because I do have 3. So I think I might do that. But yeah, you'll have to tell me if whatever I decide is all right with you, or if you've got a better idea. Cool. Yep, well, there's no point having it too innocent looking, so I've added one onto each tank, as I said, and the black ones on the 3 sides of the boat, really, like that. I did first of all start putting them on the bottom level on the far side, and then realised that these 2 had a great big gap in them, so then I had to reapply them higher up, but I actually think I prefer it at the top of the tanks there, on the rounded surface. It's a lot more visible. So although this is supposed to be a very stealth, innocent-looking vessel, it is actually very, very, very branded, which is part of the joke, I think, with oversized missiles on the inside, a boy hanging on for dear life on the front, and a very, very angry Captain Breakjaw in the back. And that lift-offable wheelhouse roof is just really fantastic, I think, with the stripe on the back. I really like it. It's going to look great in my harbour. But do tell me what you think. So as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. Do also send in your name suggestions for this guy, who I'm calling Sparky at the moment. He looks very sweet indeed, so maybe his name should reflect that. You can't control who your parents are, after all. And if you value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. Do check out the links in the description below. And there won't be any videos for 2 weeks on the channel, just because Mrs. Hood is taking me away on a holiday. But when we do return, we'll be back to the mall on Mondays, the haul videos on Wednesdays, and more wonderful mocks like this on Fridays. But in the meantime, do tell me what you think of this, and maybe check out the back catalogue. So until we meet again, see you! Yeah, the funniest thing has to be this guy's face. Brilliant.